Only later did I realize the wedding invitation was for Lu Yuzhou and Qingmai at the banquet. His good buddy wished him a happy marriage in French. Your little maid is still here. Lu Yuzhou nodded in acknowledgement, unaware that I could understand but not be angry at all. Seizing the moment as they teased in code, we agreed to go home and seal the deal through an arranged marriage, and that night, he was sent to ruin the Lu family's real estate business, the most familiar place to him. Dad and Mom, I've decided I'm willing to go back to inherit the family fortune. Hearing that their daughter finally agrees to bow to the father, the parents on the other end of the phone were overjoyed. I thought back to the man he hid his identity to date, and I couldn't help but ask, would your boyfriend come back with you? You haven't told him your real identity, have you? No, I won't tell him, I'll break up with him. Mentioning Lu Yuzhou, Song Qingyu's voice dropped a notch involuntarily. In a week I'll settle everything. Here, after a few more words, Song Qingyu hung up the call and put away his phone. Returning to the private room, the room was crowded and noisy. The conversation paused for a moment when he pushed the door open. Yet he didn't seem to notice. He walked straight to Lu Yuzhou and sat down beside him. He picked out some attention from the conversation and glanced at Song Qingyu, who sat quietly to one side. His voice was lazy and casual. Good boy, why did you take so long on that call? He hadn't spoken yet. When another voice cut in ahead, there wasn't a single French person present. The man spoke a sentence in French. Brother Ju, when do you and Zining plan to marry? Hearing this, Song Qingyu gripped the cup a little tighter, fingertips whitening. Lu Yuzhou still kept his nonchalant look, glanced at him, and then answered his question in French. The date the family fixed in half a month. Upon hearing this, everyone present looked at Song Qingyu at once. One brother's eyebrows lifted. Curious if you marry and Zining, what will Song Qingyu do? Break up, stay together? Lu Yuzhou shook his head, the wine glass swaying lightly in his hand. He took a small sip before continuing. Marrying is just to satisfy the family. The only person I truly like is Ayu. When these words were spoken, the private room erupted in laughter and the group's banter and jests surged one after another. Brother Ju, how did you end up chasing pure love? With such a big difference in status, you're really into him, huh? He turned to him. The gentleness and love in his eyes thick enough to melt away, not a single word spoken. Yet his expression perfectly answered the question. Some people watched this lovesick look and clicked their tongues in astonishment, clearly thinking he's fallen in true love. But really, does he not understand French at all? That person was originally just asking offhand, but when the others heard his remark, they burst into laughter. Song Qingyu comes from a struggling family. There's no money to learn a minor language. Don't worry, he surely doesn't understand. The taunting voices swarmed around his ears, and no one noticed beside him. Song Qingyu breathed a little harder, and the hand that gripped the wine glass had already turned pale at the knuckles. He hadn't told them, but actually she understood French after all. She wasn't Cinderella, but the only daughter of the world's richest family. After 5 years together with Ju Chong, she had been lawless, yet she had never brought him to meet her parents. At first, he thought he only worried about the difference in their statuses. After all, the Lu family was a famous aristocratic clan in Haicheng, so he had long planned to confess his own identity to him. She was the only daughter of the richest family, just not wanting to live forever under the protective wings of her parents, so she decided to conceal her identity and go out to gain experience. But the timing happened to be just right. 3 days ago in her study, she found a red wedding invitation. The bride was the Miss of the Yin family, and the groom turned out to be Lu Yuzhou. It turned out that while he was whispering sweet nothings into her ear, she had already accepted the arranged marriage from her family. Originally, while soothing her and calling her obedient, he was also busy preparing to marry a wife who matched his status and was approved by his family. At that moment, he suddenly felt there was no longer any need to say more. From now on, he would marry, he would inherit the family business, and they both would have bright futures. After 3 rounds of drinks, a group of them chatted quite merrily. As dusk fell, they all dispersed and prepared to leave. Song Qingyu followed everyone out of the private room. He had only walked a few steps when he heard a stranger's voice behind him, calling Miss Song Qingyu. He halted in his tracks, turned around, and realized the person stopping him was a partner who had previously been begging to cooperate with Song Fu. He inwardly sighed. He did not want to reveal his identity and was pondering how to bluff his way through. A brother who followed Lu Yuzhou glanced at him and snorted with a laugh. What, Miss Song Qingyu, does the clothes you're wearing add up to more than 300 yuan in total? How could you be a Miss Song Qingyu? It's a huge joke. Once these words were spoken, It immediately sparked a round of ridicule. They did not speak in a particular language and Song Qingyu absorbed their taunts, but his expression gave nothing away. Instead, Lu Yujo's companion grew angry and shot a cold warning glance at the man. The man seemed somewhat embarrassed and restrained himself, no longer so brazen to mock after being warned. The others also gradually lowered their flags and fell silent. The sound faded, and that person didn't follow. Song Qingyu trailed behind Lu Yujo, the two of them returning home in silence. Once they reached home, he took off his coat and hung it on the rack before suddenly speaking obediently. "I won't take you to these kinds of meetings again in the future." His voice and expression remained calm even after being implicitly expelled from his circle of friends, showing no change at all. He just asked, "Do you feel like I've made you look bad?" He chuckled for a moment, intending to rub his hair but was dodged, so he could only explain helplessly, "What are you thinking? I just don't want you to suffer any injustice. But the differences in our statuses will always bring us to these kinds of situations. Isn't your family pressuring you to marry off?" Song Qingyu looked at him, trying to read a trace of guilt from his expression. Yet even the word marriage made Lu Yujo stiff for only a moment, quickly restoring his usual demeanor. You only need to know that the person I love is you, and that's enough. As for the other problems, I'll think of a way to solve them." If he hadn't paid close attention, he wouldn't have noticed anything unusual. After finishing his words, Lu Yujo went to the bathroom to wash up first. Watching his leaving figure, he didn't say a word. But in his heart he couldn't help thinking of you. The so-called solution is to heed the family's suggestion and keep one person at home while raising another outside. Not far away, the bedside table rang with a message notification. It was Lu Yujo's phone. His password had never been hidden from him, so he easily unlocked the phone and glanced at the messages. It was from Xinjiang. "Yujo, tomorrow we're going to meet both families. If you don't stay at my place tonight, will the elders know about our fake marriage? I know you love your girlfriend, but at least for these days please give me some dignity." Okay. Although the words were humble, Song Qingyu could see her intent. At first, she used both sets of parents as a reason to ask him to stay together, and then what came next would only be to use this excuse to escalate step by step. But this had nothing to do with him anymore. He had decided to leave. With that thought, he set the message back to unread and put the phone away. Not long after, Lu Yujo, after finishing his wash, came out and casually picked up his phone to take a look. In the next moment, he looked at him with an apologetic gaze. There's a sudden urgent matter at the company. I need to go there once. I won't be back tonight. You rest by yourself." He left in a hurry, without a chance to notice his reaction, nor did he notice that in the past he would always accompany him out the door, coax him and complain, hoping he could spare more time to be with Song Qingyu. This time there was no hesitation at all. Watched her figure walk farther away. Ding dong. Not long after Lu Yujo had left, his phone also received a message, with just one sentence: "The universe would still come to me. Tomorrow we will meet the parents, and once we're really married, what are you to me then? An unnamed lover who cannot be seen in the light." What Zhanning said sounded harsh, but what hurt Song Qingyu even more was that this knife used to hurt her was handed to her by a boyfriend she once thought she could entrust her life to. Lu Yujo might not know that even if he didn't notice that invitation, his marriage to someone else wouldn't be hidden from him for long, because the day after he found out about the invitation, Xinjiang added him as a friend, and in the days since she has been sending him provocative pictures of Lu Yujo and Xinjiang in wedding dresses, pictures of them shopping for engagement rings, pictures of them visiting wedding venues. One after another, they completely destroyed all his love for Lu Yujo. That night, Lu Yujo did not come home, and Song Qingyu paid him no mind. The next morning, after a simple wash-up, she went straight to the company to resign, and completed the resignation procedures that day. During lunch break, he and his colleagues went downstairs to have a meal together. After hearing that he had already completed his resignation, a colleague who was on better terms with him teased, saying he'd been seeing videos saying that recently resigned colleagues were returning to take over their family business. "Qingyu, you resigned so decisively. You're not planning to go back and take over the family business too, are you?" The colleague's remark was just a casual joke, and Song Qingyu merely nodded lightly. "Yes, I am going to take over the family business." The others were stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter, treating it as a joke and not taking it to heart. Song Qingyu smiled and did not explain further. After the meal, he packed up all his things, put them into a box and carried the box home. When he returned, Lu Yujo happened to be at home, Seeing him come back with a box, he felt strange, resigned. He nodded, carrying the box toward the room, his brows knitted tightly, and he called out to him, "Aren't you fond of this job? Why did you resign all of a sudden?" Song Qingyu paused in his steps, and when he looked at him he showed a smile. "Because next there's a job I want to do more." Upon hearing this, Lu Yuzhou did not press further. He just said that work was too tiring, coming back every day exhausted, and seeing that made me feel distressed for you. "You should know I can support you." Song Qingyu shook his head, bit by bit stating, "I am not anyone's appendage." Lu Yuzhou confirmed it. "How could I be an appendage?" Song Qingyu didn't want to listen anymore. Cut him off. "Why are you back so early today? Not at the company. Work has been too busy lately. There's no time to spend with you. Today I just wanted to take some time to accompany you." His brows relaxed and he turned back into the fiancé who was always obedient to her. "What do you want to do? Do you want to have Western food or watch a movie? Today whatever you want to do, I'll accompany you." If the Song Qingyu from the past heard this, he would probably be moved to tears. After all, he knew he was the heir to the Lu Group with a lot of work to handle every day, so he was willing to spare time to accompany her in doing what she wanted to do. At least it could prove something. He occupied a large part of her heart, but now as he looked at her, he couldn't help wondering whether it was because work was too busy or because wedding preparations were too busy. How did he manage to plan a wedding with another woman while coaxing her that the person she loves is only her? But in the end, he didn't reveal his lie either. After all, there were only a few days left. When the time comes, he would naturally disappear without a trace from his life. He shook his head and vetoed his suggestion. After thinking it over, he said, "You help me do a thorough cleaning. There are many things in the villa that are old. Keeping them around is useless." Lu Yuzhou agreed to it and stayed with him tidying for a long time, but as they cleaned, they found that the things he had sorted out were all items they had bought together as a couple in the first place. From cups to accessories, from clothes to slippers, all of them were tossed into the trash can without hesitation. The smile on his face stiffened as more and more couple items were discarded until the last one was thrown away. The anxiety in his heart could no longer be concealed. "Does you know something? What can I know? Is there something you're hiding from me?" He cocked an eyebrow, watching Lu Yuzhou dodge his questions, and asked back. He shifted his gaze away, unable to look into his eyes directly, and after a moment of silence he still did not give a direct answer. He only gripped his hand and said, "Are you, no matter what happens, just remember the one I love is you." He pulled at his lips and said nothing more. After finishing the cleaning, Lu Yuzhou insisted on taking Song Qingyu out for a date. He was afraid to notice anything unusual, so he did not refuse him again. They ate, watched a movie. The car finally stopped at an auction venue, and as they were about to enter they saw a young woman in a chic Chanel-style suit with exquisite makeup striding toward them. Her expression flashed with a momentary awkwardness which Song Qingyu could see at a glance. "What happened? Ran into someone you know?" With those words, the young lady stood in front of them and greeted them with a smile. He introduced himself, and indeed it turned out she was the daughter of a family with shared ties to his circle. And Jinyang paused briefly before introducing Song Qingyu, "Who was my girlfriend." Song Qingyu heard the stark contrast between the two introductions, and Jinyang's smile froze for a moment. After a moment he still forced out a smile and extended his hand toward her. "I've heard that your girlfriend in the universe is very beautiful. Today I see she truly lives up to the reputation." While he was still speaking, the group of brothers who had mocked him in French right in front of him the previous day also walked over, in a direction where Song Qingyu could not see. He winked at Lu Yuzhou, and only then did he realize that this encounter was not accidental, but they had purposely brought in Jinings here. A fire burned in his chest, but given the current situation, if he suddenly erupted it would be even harder to explain. Helpless, he could only suppress all his anger. At the auction, and Jinings's seat was right beside Lu Yuzhou. Unlike the taunts in the text messages, in reality, he was gentle and poised, knowledgeable, and upon learning that Lu Yuzhou was interested in porcelain, he chatted with him on that topic. Lu Yuzhou's initial rejection gradually faded as his body leaned closer to him. It wasn't until Song Qingyu cleared her throat that Lu Yuzhou remembered he had been neglecting her all along. He quickly took off his coat and draped it over her shoulders, speaking softly. "Are you cold? Is this better? I know you're not interested in these things, but if you have your eye on anything, just bid directly." Before he could speak, the whispered conversations from his brothers behind him rose again. Although they lowered their voices on purpose because they were only a row away, Song Qingyu could still hear them clearly. Brother Ju really knows how to defend Song Qingyun's honor, doesn't he? Even if he's interested, so what? He doesn't understand anything. Probably doesn't even know how to raise a bid, ha ha ha, it's an upper-class auction. He's surely here for the first time. A few of them muttered, casting condescending glances toward Song Qingyu. They called it gossip, but he felt they were deliberately telling him to listen. He didn't bother arguing, for when they met again later they would have to stand before him with utmost respect, addressing him as Miss Song. At this moment the sale of the previous item had ended and the next piece was carried up. It was a jade carving of cranes and immortality, of exceptional quality. Most importantly, the host announced that it was the work of Master Junsheng, the progenitor of jade carving. Upon hearing this introduction, and Jinings's excitement surged, he raised his bidding paddle, recognizing its high collection value and thinking it could be bought as a birthday gift for Grandmother Lu. When Song Qingyu heard Master Junsheng's name, she instinctively looked up at the piece on the stage, but after a quick glance she withdrew her gaze, her voice flat and even, like a bucket of cold water poured over Jinings's head. Is this fake? And Jinyan looked at her in disbelief, about to ask, what do you village folks know? But seeing Lu Yu sitting beside, Ju remained stubbornly angry and smiled. Miss Song, how did you figure it out? Because it was really given to his grandmother by Song family's eldest daughter, the head of the wealthiest family in the world. There is only one of this kind in the world, truly on his family's table. This one must be fake. He meant well to remind her, but once these words came out, and Jinyan suddenly burst into laughter, and even Lu Yuzhou and his brothers behind him began to mock openly. Song Qingyun, if you don't understand, don't pretend you do. It's embarrassing. And you were sent by the heiress of the richest family. Do you perhaps think you saw it with your own eyes under the bed? Don't think you're surnamed Song and can climb into a relative circle with Miss Song. The group's mocking voices grew louder, and in the end Lu Yuzhou frowned and stopped their sneers. He looked at Song Qingyu and took his hand. I know you've recently read some appraisal books, but appraisal skill doesn't improve from books. Ji Ning has grown up attending auctions and is quite learned about jade carving, so he knows more than you. He didn't say anything too harsh, but his words implied he thought you was talking nonsense. Song Qingyu laughed softly, but said nothing in the end, and Jinyan spent a full 100 million to bid for that jade carving. Watching him swipe the card in that instant, Song Qingyu smiled, and didn't know what reaction old Madame Lu would have if she knew he spent 100 million to buy back a fake jade carving to gift him. He didn't stop him, nor did he mind. He stood up and went to the restroom. Just after washing his hands, a familiar voice came from behind. Song Qingyu, I thought I had made myself clear enough, but you still come here with a shameless face to stick around as a third party. Her voice was sharp and harsh, completely different from the gentle, elegant lady earlier. Song Qingyu looked up lightly, turned to him and said, Missen, I hope you understand, the one who has been with him for 5 years is me. The word third party doesn't even belong to me. Right? With that, Song Qingyu prepared to pass him and leave, but he wouldn't let it go, sneering to continue taunting. Yes, 5 years together. And you still didn't marry you. Have you ever considered why? I am the eldest daughter of the Yin family, she is the heir of the Lu group, I and he are well matched. But what about you, a gambling-addicted father at home, a sick mother, such a shabby family background? Whatever you want, you have nothing. Which part of you is worthy of his name? Song Qingyu's footsteps faltered. This family background was only his own fabrication, but he hadn't expected Lu Yuzhou to reveal this to Jinyan as well. He couldn't help but mock himself with a wry smile. If he really came from that kind of family background, would she call him her boyfriend? The man who claimed to love her would only be her boyfriend, handing another woman a second knife to wound him. Indeed unworthy. His heart ached. He glanced back at Ji Ning, and the urge to cry that had been suppressed in his chest suddenly faded. You two are a perfect match. I wish you a blissful union. After his words fell, he stepped forward again and walked away. Not long after he had just stepped out, his phone rang. It was Song Mother's call. Qingyu, come back quickly. The family has been waiting for you and they've prepared a bunch of gifts for you. Your father and I bought you a castle abroad. Your aunt bought you a diamond crown said to have been worn by the Queen of Britain. Your uncle also prepared a good car for your garage. Listening to Song Mother blabber on about how many gifts the family had prepared for his return, Song Qingyu wore a helpless expression. Mom, I'm going back to inherit the family property. Not to squander it. Before his words finished, a familiar voice came from behind. What inheritance? Song Qingyu halted, instinctively hung up the phone. Yet he couldn't help but marvel inwardly at how these people loved standing behind others. He suddenly spoke, turning his head to see Lu Yuju's not-so-good-looking face. After a moment of contemplation, he finally explained, "Not much, it was just that a former colleague asked me what I planned to do after resigning, and I joked with them that I'd go home and inherit the family fortune." Lu Yujo frowned. He clearly wasn't the type who liked to joke around. He always felt something was off. Just as he was about to speak, Song Qingyu had already walked a few steps and looked back at him, asking, "Aren't you coming? There are still a few jewelry pieces left to display." Hearing this, Lu Yujo thought he wanted to buy some jewelry, so he nodded and followed him. Back at the auction hall, Lu Yujo bid high on all of the next several jewelry items and had them wrapped and delivered into Song Qingyu's hands. Song Qingyu looked at the box in his hand and softly said, "I won't wear these jewels." Lu Yujo rubbed his head with a smile, saying to adapt more in the future. "Don't fear wasting money, I'll buy you diamonds for a lifetime." He moved his lips but ultimately didn't say the rest aloud. He wouldn't wear these priceless jewels. Each piece of her jewelry is worth hundreds of millions. The auction has ended and the people on the field began to leave one after another. Lu Yujo and Song Qingyu and the group did not stay long either. Everyone had driven themselves here, so they just needed to go home each. But just as they sat in the car before the engine even started, and Ji Ning knocked on the car window, the window slowly rolled down, revealing her face full of bashfulness, and her voice was also coquettish, completely invisible the sharp and pointed look she had just given Song Qingyu in the bathroom. "Yujo, my car broke down, can you take me home?" Lu Yujo frowned, about to refuse when he spoke again. "Uncle and Aunt said you take care of me, you didn't forget, did you?" Lu Yujo, for some reason his expression grew a bit stern, and in the end he agreed. Seeing him simply nod, the smile on his face brightened a little. And then he looked at Song Qingyu even more presumptuously. "But I get car sick and can't ride in the back seat, what should I do?" Lu Yujo looked at Song Qingyu. Before his words could leave his mouth, he had already pushed the car door open, gotten out and directly moved to the back seat. His movements were smooth as flowing clouds. Lu Yujo hadn't even reacted yet when he was already seated in the back. His words got stuck in his throat, neither going nor coming, making him feel extremely uncomfortable. He hesitated, wanting to say something, as if to say, "It's just a seat, nothing to make a big deal about," when his gaze from the rearview mirror flicked to the back seat. He had already closed his eyes, pretending to rest at that moment, and Jinang had also gotten into the car after the car door closed, and she saw him with closed eyes and resting. A smug smile curved at the corners of her lips. "Song Qingyu, even if the person he loves right now is still you, what does it matter? What I want will eventually fall into my hands. Obtaining his heart is just a matter of time." With this thought, his mood suddenly improved. His voice was soft and gentle, looking at Lu Yu and Ju She. His eyes were shy and coy. "Miss Song, are you tired? Then let her rest for a while." Perhaps sensing Song Qingyu's abnormality, Lu Yujo didn't talk much with Nzining either, only nodded slightly and then silently started the car. Song Qingyu didn't know when he actually fell asleep. When he woke again, the car had already parked in the garage of the Lu family villa, and Nzining was no longer in the car. Lu Yujo touched his face, waking him. "You slept so soundly, I didn't have the heart to wake you." He was a little hazy for a moment, nodded and then opened the car door and got out. Without waiting, Lu Yujo walked straight toward the main gate. When Lu Yujo got out of the car, he had already reached the doorway. He chased a few steps and blocked the person at the door. He was angry, and Jining was really just the daughter of a family of ordinary status. "You shouldn't take it to heart." He hummed a sound, and Lu Yujo, thinking she was still angry, reached out to pull her, coaxing gently. "Are you really just the daughter of an ordinary family? Be good, the only one I love is you, you know that." After speaking, the scent of roses on her body came to mind, and he thought that it had been a while since he had properly gotten close to Song Qingyu, who Jie whispered softly, lowering his head to kiss him, but he was pushed away with one hand. Seeing his surprised expression, Song Qingyu directly stepped into the door and said, "My period is uncomfortable, I'll rest in the room first." After speaking, he shut and barred the door, completely cutting off Lu Yujo's chance to come in. The next morning in the first-floor restaurant, Song Qingyu was having breakfast with Lu Yujo. His phone, which he had placed to the side, suddenly rang. It was the timed alarm he had set a while ago, with a note saying the day to meet the parents. Lu Yujo also saw those words previously. He had planned to be honest about his identity, so he suggested that he go home to meet his parents, and he agreed. The two exchanged a look. Song Qingyu was wondering how to cancel this meeting. In the next moment, his phone rang again, and Jining's call. He didn't know what was said on the other end, but his expression changed, and when he stepped toward him again, he apologized and declined this meeting. I suddenly have something to attend to this time. I'll accompany you next time. Why don't you go meet your uncle and aunt? He had thought he would cause a tantrum, but he calmly nodded. All right, I have something to take care of today as well. Not long after Lu Yuzhou left, Song Qingyu also went out. She went shopping at the mall and prepared a gift for each of the close friends she would meet at the conference. When they arrived at the meeting place and the boxes were opened, everyone exclaimed in unison, "Qingyu, where did you pick up so many counterfeit goods? These are too real, they're all genuine." Seeing how they were enchanted by them, he couldn't help but chuckle. After explaining, seeing that they still looked incredulous, he revealed his true identity. Actually, what I told you before, that my father gambled and my mother was gravely ill, was a lie. My real identity is Song Qingyu, the only daughter of a billionaire. This time when I bid you farewell, it's because I'm going home to inherit the family fortune. Hearing this, everyone was first stunned and then overjoyed, shouting in excitement that the young lady was right beside them. The screams nearly blew the ceiling off the restaurant. After cheering, someone remembered Lu Yuzhou and hurriedly asked, "But if you go back, what about Lu Yuzhou? Has he learned your true identity?" Speaking of Lu Yuzhou, the smile on his face faded a bit. She plans to marry someone else. How could that be? Upon hearing this, the girlfriends were full of disbelief. In our eyes, he is a rare, rich and romantic suitor. Yes, 3 years ago you said you liked moonflowers, and he spent a fortune buying the entire world's moonflowers just to make you smile. 2 years ago you caught the flu, and he postponed his high-priority cooperation to rush back from abroad, personally taking care of you, not closing his eyes all night. And a year ago the car you were in had an accident, the truck was out of control, and the direction it was heading toward was you. To protect you, he forcibly steered the direction, and in the end you came out unscathed, while he broke 3 ribs and lay in the hospital bed for 3 months, almost not waking up. Now he's getting married. How could the bride not be you? Hearing my best friend talk about those past things, Song Qingyu still feels overwhelmed with emotion. Back then Lu Yuzhou truly loved her so much that he could even give up his life. But now he shakes his head, softly smiles. He loves me, but his family thinks my status is not worthy of him, forcing her to marry. I hadn't had a chance, to be honest, and he had already printed the invitations. From what she says, after the wedding he probably wants me to be his lover. The neighbors would explode at the thought. Lover, making the eldest daughter of the Lu family a lover. Their family is realmente crazy. Fine. When the time comes, there will be a scene where he tries to win back his wife with fire and brimstone. Only if he knew you secretly left their family, knew your true identity, would drive him crazy. Just at this moment, Lu Yuzhou and Zining stepped in from outside the door. Upon hearing their words, they frowned. What real identity? Seeing them come in together, a close friend became indignant, ready to speak, but was stopped by Song Qingyu. He looked at the two who had just come in, his expression indifferent. Why are you here? Upon hearing this, Lu Yuzhou still felt a bit guilty, his gaze drifting. The Lu and Luo families just happened to have a collaboration, so they arranged a meeting to discuss it. Hearing his answer, Song Qingyu laughed. Of course he knew there was a collaboration between them, a marriage collaboration, because they needed to discuss a collaboration. Lu Yuzhou and Zining did not sit with them together. They sat at a separate table nearby, just within sight of Song Qingyu to observe the intimacy between the two. For example, he helps him cut the steak, he shares foods he likes with him, he passes him a tissue, he wipes the smeared corner of his lip. The back and forth between the two made Song Qingyu's friends explode with anger, yet he remained calm on the surface. After a meal, Song Qingyu's side dispersed and Lu Yuzhou suggested taking him and Zining home, perhaps because of the previous contention over the front passenger seat. This time Lu Yuzhou learned his lesson and simply drove home in his family's Rolls-Royce. The driver was at the wheel, so they naturally did not go to the front passenger seat again. The car smoothly headed toward An's house, unobstructed all the way. No one expected that an accident would strike at this moment. A runaway truck sped in from another direction. The driver instinctively jerked the steering wheel. With a bang, the two cars could not avoid colliding when the window shattered and Song Qingyu being thrown to the other side by the inertia. happened to see Lu Yuzhou protect Nzining tightly in his own arms. Not only did he prevent him from any injury, but he was also gently patting his back and soothing his emotions. Song Qingyu's consciousness blurred, and he suddenly remembered the car accident his friends had mentioned earlier. It happened during their 4th year together, at a time when his feelings for her were at their strongest. It was at a crossroad like this, with a speeding truck coming from the same direction as the impact. In the midst of fear, he realized he couldn't avoid that truck. He could only force a U-turn and face the truck with his own side. The front of the car caved in, and he was trapped in the driving seat. Firefighters and doctors worked together for a long time to rescue him from the vehicle, and only then could they pull him out. He almost died that day, yet even after escaping danger and waking up, the first words he uttered were to ask about Nzining's safety. Now the same car, or perhaps a different one, and yet the people who instinctively helped each other were no longer the same for him. The extended tail of the Rolls-Royce was crushed to a sightless state, until the others had all gotten out of the car. Lu Yuzhou, who had been comforting Nzining all along, finally saw Song Qingyu silently pressing his bleeding temple. Fortunately, his injury was not serious. After bandaging at the hospital, there were no major problems, but because the injury involved the head, the doctors still advised keeping him under observation for 2 days. Lu Yuzhou looked at the bandage on his head, his face full of guilt. I'm sorry, I was thinking that I would soon cooperate with Nzining and we would need to attend events together, and I thought his face couldn't be harmed, so I protected him. I'll take responsibility for you. You can scold me or beat me, just don't ignore me, okay? His apology was sincerely earnest, and the reason seemed plausible. If Song Qingyu hadn't remembered that the wedding was only less than half a month away, he might have believed that the collaboration he mentioned referred to the wedding. He lowered his eyes, saying nothing, neither refusing to forgive nor forgiving, remaining with that unmoved expression from start to finish. Lu Yuzhou's apology still hadn't stopped. He kept saying sorry over and over. Suddenly he seemed to remember something, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. A few days later would be your birthday. I'll give you the gift early, okay? Whatever birthday gift you want, I'll buy it for you. After hearing this, he finally looked up at him, but his eyes were calm and without waves. Then you should buy me a plane ticket to go to the fortress city in 3 days. What are you going to do in the fortress city? He was a bit surprised, but soon he answered himself. Do you want to travel? Song Qingyu didn't explain, just nodded a soft Lu Yuzhou didn't ask further. Right in front of him, he opened his phone and bought a ticket to the fortress city. After buying the ticket, he said, during this period I'm busy and can't accompany you. You go and have fun in Hu City first. When I'm free, I'll go with you to buy the plane ticket again. This birthday gift is too small. I'll make it up to you with a bigger surprise then. Song Qingyu shook her head and gave a light smile. Not small at all. This plane ticket is the way back home for her. Lu Yuzhou, thank you for your gift, personally sending me home. In the 2 days of hospitalization, Lu Yuzhou seemed to have returned to the very beginning of their first love, treating him with utmost care. But the good times didn't last. His care ended on the day of discharge. He left first, saying the company had some matters, and had the driver take him home. Soon after, he received provocative messages from Nzining. Sorry, Shu and Yuzhou are about to get married. Today he'll be accompanying me back to the old house for a meal, so he probably won't have time to pick you up from the hospital. Song Qingyu didn't pay attention to the message. She simply returned home quietly and began packing. On the day of departure, he woke up very early, 7 hours before takeoff. He carried the luggage one by one out of the door, only to run into Lu Yuzhou, who had come back. Seeing several suitcases piled up at the door of the villa, his expression changed, and a thread of unease suddenly rose in his heart. What's going on? Didn't I say we'd go to Hu City, or is it the ticket you bought for me? Did you forget? His expression remained calm, as if he was really just prepared to go out for a trip, but his words failed to persuade him. Isn't it just 1 or 2 days? Do you need to bring so much luggage? Song Qingyu tugged at his lips. Girls with more outfits want to take more photos, but she hadn't really cared for taking pictures so much before. During trips, she had never brought so many things. A flutter of unease spread from his heart to his whole body, making him wish he could just open his suitcase on the spot and examine it carefully to see if it was really as he had said. He was about to move when a sharp phone ring interrupted him. It was Nzining calling. After answering, he wasn't sure what was said on the other end. Lu Yuzhou fell silent for a moment, then still stepped out of the door first. Before leaving, he reminded Song Qingyu once more, don't play for too long. Send me your return flight when you have it, I'll pick you up. He did not answer because he knew he would not be coming back again. This meeting would be their last. 5 hours before takeoff, he changed the door password from his own birthday to Ji Ning's birthday, then stuck a post-it on the door. This place would still be MS N's home in the future. It was better to set the password to MS N's birthday. 3 hours before takeoff, he found all the photos of him and Lu Yujo in the villa and threw them one by one into the bonfire. He held him as they kissed under a sky full of fireworks, saying over and over that he belonged to him. He knelt on one knee in the sunset and starry river, swearing to love her for a lifetime. He had blocked a car and broken 3 ribs for him. He remembered every one of his cycles, and his moments on social media all belonged to him. They walked through spring, stepped through summer, welcomed autumn, and endured winter. Now memories burned away bit by bit, and they were completely over. 2 hours before takeoff, his phone rang. Opening it, he saw Ji Ning had sent him a video. In the video, it seemed to be at a family dinner with Lu Yujo's brothers and Ji Ning's close friends and elders on both sides. Many people surrounding Lu Yujo and Ji Ning, the two focal figures, with bursts of teasing. Kiss him again, kiss him again. I say, brother Ju, you're getting married in a few days. What's there to be shy about kissing? Couldn't you let Miss N? Amid the chorus of jeers, Ji Ning's cheeks flushed, and she closed her eyes and leaned in. The crowd's screams grew louder, urging Lu Yujo to kiss her. Lu Yujo gazed steadily at the person in front of him, then finally closed his eyes, lifted a hand to the back of her head and gave her a French kiss. The video replayed again and again. On the 7th replay, Ji Ning's message came through. Song Qingyu, did you see it? I am the daughter-in-law recognized by all the Lu family. How could your poor family be worthy of you? How could the Lu family look down on you? No matter how much they love you, I can break down your defenses little by little. First, accompany me to meet the parents, then meet my best friend, then we'll cohabit. We just kissed earlier, so how long until we get to bed? Song Qingyu did not reply to his message. She silently printed every provocation he had sent over these days, one by one, gathered into a stack, and left it in the empty living room. An hour before takeoff, she left the last line on that stack of printed papers. Lu Yujo, congratulations on your wedding, we are done. Then she dragged her suitcase and walked out of the villa area, hailed a cab and sped toward the airport. Lu Yujo, from now on I will be myself again, the richest man, and miss, you are no longer involved. When Song Qingyu from Shu City Airport walked out with his suitcase, a Bugatti that looked obviously valuable was already waiting outside. As soon as he approached, the man outside the car immediately opened the door for him. Miss, please get in. The luggage was loaded into the car. He sat in the car and naturally started chatting with the man who sat in the driver's seat. Uncle Lee, why are you coming to pick up my family's driver? Uncle Lee chuckled, the fine lines at the corners of his eyes making him look a bit more kind. The car started and slowly merged into the traffic, and her ringtone followed. It had been many years since Miss had come back, and I heard Miss is back today, so I proactively took on this task. It seems Uncle Lee has taken a liking to me. Song Qingyu smiled with a hint of tease in his eyes and asked again about the family's situation, about their parents, how they had been these years. Uncle Lee had served the Song family for decades. To Song Qingyu, he was more like an elder who had watched him grow up, making their interaction feel less distant. In response to his tease, he did not deny it but nodded, saying that indeed he had thought so. If the master and mistress were home, everything was normal, health was good. Besides thinking of you, there wasn't much else. Song Qingyu and Uncle Lee talked all the way. When the car stopped at the Song family villa, he had a rough understanding of the family's situation over the years. Getting out of the car, he went straight toward the villa. When he pushed the door open, a group of lackeys had already stood by the door, observing him with orderly voices and motions. Welcome home, miss, she sighed faintly, raising an eyebrow. Uncle Lee pushed the luggage forward, and the servants took over and carried it upstairs. Seeing his helpless look, they joked with a smile, master and madam value ritual and ceremony. Upon learning that miss was coming back, they trained overnight to stage a welcome ceremony. Now they should all be waiting for miss in the living room. Song Qingyu nodded. Although the display was a bit exaggerated, he didn't say anything discouraging and went straight to the living room. The living room was indeed crowded at this moment, with Song father and Song mother, as well as his uncle and aunt all present. He went forward to greet them one by one and then sat down beside his parents. Seeing their concerned expressions, the long-held calm suddenly shattered. Song Qingyu leaned against her mother's shoulder, ached with an indescribable grievance in her heart. She had been pampered by all her elders since childhood, never suffering any losses, until she disappeared for a period of tempering to High City to conceal her identity and met Lu Yujo. They dated for 5 years, and Song Qingyu sacrificed a sincere heart at that time. He truly wanted to spend the rest of his life with her, and she sincerely believed they would eventually become each other's only one, but unfortunately in the end he nearly became a kept mistress she raised from outside while he remained ignorant. A righteous heart at last was nothing more than a means of surviving. Mother Song could see the heaviness of his mood, patted his shoulder, saying that the past was the past. The thing we fear the most is making mistakes. We can just start over. We are not lacking in forgiveness. Hearing the parents' comfort, Song Qingyu's mood finally eased a little. Seeing this, the others quickly shifted the topic, busy pulling out the gifts they had long prepared. Only then did he realize that what Mother Song told him on the phone not long ago was not exaggerated at all, and perhaps even conservative. From the house deed to the keys, a thick stack of papers lay on top of a long set of keys, the most conspicuous one placed in the middle. The crown on display was made of gold, diamonds, and pearls, each diamond extraordinarily large, pearls plump and full, and everywhere revealing the crown's extraordinariness and preciousness. Yet they seemed as if not yet satisfied, trying to fill the table in front of him to the brim to feel content. Just as he felt a bit helpless and wanted to say there's no need, Aunt Song suddenly pounded the tabletop, and a glow lit up in her eyes. Qingyu isn't just out of a relationship, is she? I happen to have a friend's son who recently returned to the country. My friend has been worrying for a long time about him not finding a girlfriend, so why don't you two meet and make friends first? Song Qingyu paused in confusion, quickly waving a hand to decline. Aunt Song wouldn't take no for an answer and directly pushed a contact to him on her phone. The young man I met before he went abroad was very handsome. Even if there isn't that fate, making him a friend would be nice. Unable to resist the generous invitation, he finally agreed with Aunt's suggestion. Only Song Qingyu didn't expect that just as he clicked the contact Auntie sent, he would discover that he already had that person as a friend. He clicked in to take a look. There were no notes. The avatar was a crescent moon in a sea of pure black, and the nickname was simply 2 letters, ZS. Song Qingyu was stunned, carefully recalling for a long time, still could not remember when he had added that person as a friend. And he didn't ask either, quietly turning off the phone screen. After all the answers would naturally appear when they met in person. Just as Song Qingyu was preparing for a blind date with someone else on the other side, Lu Yujo finally returned home. It was late, the villa was without lights on, and he didn't see the note posted on the door. He, as usual, entered the password, and when ready to push the door open, he found the door still wouldn't budge. Puzzled, he looked up and saw the note stuck on the door. After all, this would be Missen's home in the future, so it was better to set the password to Missen's birthday, Missen's home, and Zening. His heart suddenly skipped a beat. Had she found out something? But he and Zening had only met once, and no one else could tell him about this. How could he know that he was going to marry Zening? Lu Yujo hesitated a moment to input Zening's birthday, and the villa gate opened with a click, lights blazing. The villa was empty, and he instinctively called out Ayu, a sound echoing through the villa. But there was no response. It was only then that he suddenly remembered that 2 days ago Song Qingyu had gone to the city wall. He rarely left him for such a long time. Most of the time he was waiting at home for his return, or rather, since they started living together, except for this time. Whenever he returned home in the past, he would have waited for him. Thinking of this, a trace of unease rose sharply in Lu Yujo's heart. Suddenly his heart felt hollow. Was he serious about this? But on second thought he discarded the idea. How could it be? Song Qingyun loved him so much, probably because these days there was less time for him, so he had some wild thoughts and ended up guessing the relationship between him and Zening correctly by coincidence. But he would still return to his side. When that time comes, he would charm him again. With this in mind, he pressed his brow and stepped toward the living room. It seemed that later he would have to call Song Qingyu to ask when he would be back and have a proper talk with him. But when he reached the living room, before he could dial the number, his gaze was drawn to a pile of papers on the coffee table. Lu Yujo's steps did not slow at all, and he walked over even faster, quickly sitting on the sofa and picking up the pile of unfamiliar paper documents. A subtle expectation rose in his heart. Were these Song Qingyu's things? If they were for him to see, He would say he was just acting out in a fit of pique. How could he really want to leave him? A faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth, but when he read the content on the papers, he stiffened. The top page, apart from a line of handwritten words, had nothing else. Lu Yujo recognized at a glance that the handwriting belonged to Song Qingyu, beautiful and delicate, soft yet full of character, blooming on the page. If you didn't read the content closely, you would only find it pleasing to the eye, but with that handwriting, the words struck like a heavy hammer on his heart. Lu Yujo, happy wedding, we are finished. He seemed to hear the ringing in his ears, his mind going blank, and after carefully reading several times more, he finally confirmed that he had not misread. He had written, happy wedding, we are finished. He didn't want him. It must be a joke. How could he possibly not want him? His hand unconsciously flipped open that page, tore it out, crumpled it into a ball, and threw it far away. It was also because of this action that the content of the second page surfaced. It was a screenshot of a printed chat log recorded from the day they added each other as friends. Song Qingyu didn't note Lu Yuju, so he could only see the other person's avatar and nickname. He felt it very familiar because he also had that person as a friend. And Zening, the first message was sent by Zening half a month ago. He flipped down page after page, his heart sinking lower and lower. I've heard you're the one whom the universe keeps outside. Let me introduce myself. I'm Zening, his fiancé. You'd better behave yourself and leave quickly, otherwise when I and Yuju get married you'll be kicked out of the villa and you won't look good. With just one word from me the universe will still come to me, and tomorrow our parents will meet. Once we really get married, what are you then, an unseen lover? How can he love you anyway? He has already kissed me. Do you think there's much more time before we go to bed together? Occasionally there are also a few photos or a video mixed in. Photos of them in wedding dresses, photos of them choosing diamond rings, photos of them selecting the wedding venue together, and that video was clicked by him and a single frame was captured from the most representative moment in the entire video, a snap Zening most wants him to see. It is the heartfelt kiss between her and Zening, witnessed by both sets of parents and a group of brothers. The taut thread in his mind finally snapped, and the silent panic spread over his heart. His face turned whiter, yet his mouth kept muttering three words, I don't believe it. He stood up and ran toward the upstairs bedroom, but his legs betrayed him and went soft. As he was going up, he accidentally misstepped. With a thud, he rolled down the stairs. The pain jolted him back to a shred of rationality, and he gritted his teeth, gripping the handrail to stand again, limping as he moved back up. This time, perhaps because he walked more slowly, nothing else happened. He made it to the bedroom smoothly. Looking around, he found that only his things remained in the room. All items related to Song Qingyu had disappeared, even the two photo frames that used to sit on the bedside tables on both sides. The photos inside were gone as well, only the empty frames remained in place. Lu Yuju seemed to realize something, his eyes shining with panic. Once more, he opened the wardrobe again, then opened the drawer, taking out his things. And the places where those things had been were all now empty. The bedroom, the bathroom, the study. He searched every possible place in the villa where there might be something related to them, but he could no longer find a single item connected to Song Qingyu, thinking of a while ago when Song Qingyu suddenly said he wanted a big cleanup and then tossed away all the items that belonged to them as a couple. At that moment he finally understood the reason he had acted that way back then. He was so heartless, leaving him not a single memory behind. And the unease in his heart was almost turning into something tangible, but he still couldn't believe it. They had been together for a full 5 years. He obviously loved him so much, and yet he could be so ruthless as to throw him away. He couldn't believe what he saw. His mind was filled only with the need to find him and ask for an explanation, and he didn't even know what he had done. When he came to his senses again, she had returned to the living room, and the mobile phone had already started buzzing with a long series of rings. The ringtone rang for a long time before someone finally answered. Perhaps because it was late, Song Qingyu seemed awakened from sleep, and did not even see clearly who was calling, and so he answered directly, the voice still carrying a bit of sleepiness and confusion. Hello, who is it? Are you? It's me. He spoke with some difficulty, afraid that he would treat the call as a harassing one and hang up. Where are you? I want to see you, and our photo together too. Even as he started to speak, Song Qingyu's awareness was fully awake. He lifted his own phone and after seeing the two characters' universe on the screen, let out a heavy sigh. A miscalculation. He had forgotten to block his contact. In the brief moment of Song Qingyu's silence, Lu Yuzhou persisted and called his name a few more times, causing a disheartened feeling to rise in his heart. Mr. Lu is already someone who is going to start a family. There are still necessary precautions to take. Those photos, if Missen moves into the villa, seeing those things would also be unhappy, so they were burned. As for meeting, I think there is no need for that. You're about to marry someone else. What's the point of meeting with your former girlfriend? Hearing him say that all the photos had been burned, Lu Yuzhou felt as if his heart were bleeding, but what hurt him more was his decisive rejection of I did not agree to the breakup. What you think between Xinjiang and me isn't what you think. The person I love really is you. How could you simply abandon me like this? By the end of his words, he even heard a hint of choking in his voice, which made Song Qingyu fall silent for a moment. He rarely saw him cry. 5 years of dating didn't count as that moment. The only time he had seen him cry was when they were in a car accident together back then. Obviously he was the one who was more gravely injured. But when he woke up and saw those unavoidable wounds on his body, he cried out in sobs. It was hard to tell from his usually decisive and ruthless business demeanor, if at that moment by chance a partner of Lu's who happened to pass by saw him in that state, they would have been shocked to the core. This time, it was the second occurrence. Song Qingyu had never denied the love Lu Yuzhou had for him in the past, but precisely because he had seen Lu Yuzhou love others too when he later agreed to an arranged marriage with An Jining to appease his family's pressure, she could keenly sense that her heart began to stray. He might still love him, but the person he loved wasn't only him anymore, so he would be the first one abandoned. After weighing things, whether he decided to quietly keep him as a kept man outside the family or later during the car accident instinctively saved An Jining first, his first choice had long ceased to be him. So at this moment, even hearing his choking sobs, hearing his sorrow, his heart could no longer stir any wave. Lu Yuzhou, you and I are simply broken up. Breaking up does not require both sides' agreement, and if we're talking about abandonment, wasn't it you who gave up on our relationship first? Now you come to say that I abandoned you. Also, since we've reached this point, please understand that we have already broken up. Please do not disturb my life in the future. Every word Song Qingyun uttered tightened Lu Yuzhou's heart by another notch. He moved his lips, his eyes full of affection and flattery. Just as he had called out his name, the phone rang with a hang-up tone. He was startled, and when he tried to redial, he found the call couldn't go through. She had blocked him. Lu Yuzhou tried other ways to contact, but after every message sent, a red exclamation mark hung on it. He slumped back on the sofa, his gaze returning to that stack of documents. He stared hard at that pile of papers, sadness and anger rising together. He swept the stack violently off the desk. The pages fluttered in the air, rustling as they finally fell onto the desk, the sofa, and the floor, and Jining's were to blame for this too. If he hadn't brought this matter to Song Qingyu's attention, how could he have left so decisively? The last page landed right in front of him, just in time. It was the sentence An Jining had last sent to Song Qingyu, boasting, "What if I love you, even if you've kissed me? How much longer until we get to bed?" His gaze was heavy, fixed on that line for a long time. Then suddenly sneered in the eyes. Once a still pool, flashed a trace of ruthlessness. And Jining, I already told you, the person I like will only be a you. Who gave you the courage to trouble a you? Since you hate being a bride so much, how about I give you a big gift? Song Qingyu knew nothing about Lu Yuzhou's thoughts. He expressionlessly pulled that note with the universe marked on it into his blacklist, and alongside that all his contact details, then put his phone away and fell into a deep sleep. That night, he slept unusually soundly, because the next day he was going to report to Shengqi Group as an parachuted-in CEO. Song Qingyu got up early. He is confident in establishing himself in this position, but at least on his first day in office, he wouldn't let himself be ridiculed. Shengqi Group is the family business of the Song family with a history spanning centuries, a wide range of interests including clothing brands, high-end jewelry, perfumes and bags, cosmetics and skincare, and daily chemical products. It not only covers many areas but can also take the lead in them. In fact, initially Song Qingyu intended to start with a brand under Shengqi, but his parents kept saying they believed he could handle being CEO of Shengqi, and pushed him onto this position. As a result, on his first day in office, news spread throughout the circle that Shengqi Group had parachuted in a young, beautiful CEO. At that time, Lu Yuzhou was drinking in a stuffy mood with his brothers at the largest club in Haicheng. I heard Song Qingyu found out he was going to marry someone else and, infuriated, broke up with Lu Yuzhou. No one cared about this matter after all. He could not accept himself for a moment, and in the future he would have to follow you without a name or a title, so he sulked and proposed the breakup. I also heard that he quit his job recently. Don't worry, when the money in his hands runs out, he'll come back sooner or later. Otherwise, who will fill the void for the gambling father and the gravely ill mother? I've seen many such naive guys like him. Wasn't it in the past that he wanted to cling to you in order to soar and become a phoenix? Now that the dream has shattered, it's normal not to be able to accept it. He'll probably be coaxed again after a while. Yes, with his status, how could he possibly be your husband? He was originally delusional. Letting him live this kind of life with you is probably something he never even dared to imagine in the past. Mocking voices about Song Qingyu rose and fell, endless and deafening. The sound grated on Lu Yuzhou, who had been sitting sipping dull wine all along. His face grew gloomy, and he suddenly grabbed the wine cup in his hand and smashed it down hard. The crisp sound of breaking glass, along with the scattering shards, quieted the noisy surroundings a bit. Suddenly his cold, chilling voice rang out. Is that enough? Everyone stared blankly at his expression. No reaction. No one understood what kind of temper he was in. Listening to him, it seemed as if he was backing Song Qingyu, but they weren't the first to say so about him, and they had even said it in front of him many times. Had Lu Yuzhou and Song Qingyu ever spoken out about it? What does this mean now? In the end, it was still the closest to him, Wang Tianyun, who frowned first and spoke up, breaking this deathly silence. Yet his words still didn't take his temper to heart. They treated him as if he was annoyed by their noise, snorted twice, and the gaze directed at him carried a hint of mockery. What's the matter? Brother Jew isn't in a good mood. We know you care a bit more about him. Don't worry, there's no way he can really let go of you, this gold-grafted son-in-law. Do you believe it or not, in less than half a month, he'll surely back down, then it'll be whatever you say. But just as the words fell, he raised his head to look at Wang Tianyun, his eyes full of ferocity, his voice icy, apologizing. Wang Tianyun was momentarily stunned, not understanding what he meant. His voice rang out again, apologizing to him. Until this moment, Wang Tianyun finally understood that he really had caused all this because they had belittled Song Qingyu. Why was Brother Ju so agitated? And the brothers weren't wrong either. Wasn't he a poor girl climbing up to you just for money? Didn't you not refute it when we talked about it before? Hearing Wang Tianyun's words, Lu Yuzhou was suddenly stunned. The murderous glare in his eyes faded, eventually turning into confusion. So they had said such things many times in the past. So in the past, when he encountered such a situation, he always chose to indulge. He rummaged through his memory trying to find evidence to refute them, only to realize that Wang Tianyu was right. They weren't the first to belittle Song Qingyu like this. Whether Song Qingyu was present or not, when they spoke in French he chose to default. It was only when they spoke it directly in front of him that he would stop. 12. But how could that kind of restraint be considered evidence? It was nothing more than a reluctantly performed act in front of Song Qingyu, and those previous defaults of hers were his real thoughts. With that realization, he choked on his breath, not knowing what to say, and could only drink cup after cup, pouring more wine into himself. But at the same time, a trace of hope inevitably rose in Lu Yuzhou's heart. Yes, he still had a gambling-addicted father and a gravely ill mother. Now he had lost his job as well, and perhaps after some time he would really return to his side, and at that moment others did not want to provoke his bad luck anymore. We've switched topics again. Shengqi Group recently parachuted in a new CEO. Have you heard any news? I heard it's the eldest daughter of the Song family. For the past few years there hasn't been much news about her, probably because she's been away from home in a remote place to train herself. Now that she's back, they've immediately handed the restart project directly to him. After all, the Song family only has one daughter. Eventually these businesses will surely fall into his hands. Even if he's the one they parachuted in, they'd already trained him long ago so he could take office right away. You'd think two people with the same surname Song would be so different. Lu Yuzhou wasn't interested in this topic, so he didn't participate. He sat alone in the corner, the empty wine bottles in front of him piling up. He hadn't paid attention, so naturally he hadn't heard the line about the Song family's eldest daughter traveling far and wide in previous years and just returning home recently. He hadn't considered the possibility that perhaps the note she left for Song Qingyu when he left, the words written there, might all be true. When the show ended it was already late at night. Lu Yuzhou had drunk too much, and his steps were shaky. Wang Tianyun and the others watched him stumble and almost fall. So they were not at ease letting him go back alone and had no choice but to call An Zining. When he hurried over, Lu Yuzhou was left with only Wang Tianyun by his side. Seeing him approach, he quickly handed Lu Yuzhou over to his sister-in-law and said, "Brother Ju, I'm leaving him to you. You must take good care of Brother Ju." On his way back. As he spoke, he tossed him a knowing look and grabbed his car keys before walking out of the box, leaving behind Lu Yuzhou, who was already too drunk to be conscious, and An Zining, whose face was flushed. He didn't take him back to Lu family's villa but went straight to his own villa, carrying a man who stood 188 meters into the room. Was still a bit tricky for An Zining, but thinking about what he would do. Later, he forced himself to support the man inside, and after finally getting into the room and tossing him onto the soft bed, he carefully wiped him clean, changed his clothes, and finally lay down next to him with a blush on his face. "Universe, anyway, we are all going to get married, just a little earlier, and I'm willing." The man beside him didn't seem to have heard him and truly pulled him into his arms, his head tucked into the crook of his neck. Hot breath sprayed onto his neck, causing his body to tremble involuntarily. The room's temperature seemed to rise with the ambiguous atmosphere. But the next moment, the name she uttered caused the heart that was about to leap out of her body to settle back in place. He had no more movements, only held her tightly in his embrace, as if a single loosened grip would make him disappear again. And Zining lay quietly in his arms with no other movements, only a gleam of malice flashing in his eyes. Sitting in front of him was Song Qingyu again. Song Qingyu again. If only he could disappear from this world. The next day, Lu Yuzhou woke up hungover with a terrible headache. He wanted to raise his hand to rub it, but suddenly realized there seemed to be someone in his embrace. He lowered his head and only saw the top of a delicately curled head. His mind hadn't caught up yet, and the name spilled out first, Ayu, but as soon as the word left his mouth, he sensed something was off. Song Qingyu was clearly still guarding the city, not back, and moreover 2 days ago he had distinctly broken up with him. How could he be sleeping beside him now? And besides, Song Qingyu had never had curls. A sense of foreboding rose in his heart, and with force of his hand, he threw the person out hard. And Zining, still asleep, was pushed off the bed and fell to the ground with a thud. Waking up completely, he looked up to see Lu Yuzhou with a sullen face. "What are you doing here?" His cold, emotionless voice cut straight to his heart, making him feel wronged. His lips quivered and tears welled up in his eyes as if they might spill at any moment, making him look especially pitiful. If the person in front of him were someone else, perhaps seeing him like this would have softened the heart. Or, if it were Lu Yuzhou before the breakup with Song Qingyu, perhaps he wouldn't be so cold and hard now. But at this moment, the person in front of him was Lu Yuzhou, who had provoked Song Qingyu and caused Song Qingyu to break up with him. Juan's Henning cried for a while, and when she saw that he remained unmoved, her expression even grew paler. She quickly suppressed her grievance and explained, "Last night you were drunk, and you wouldn't let me go to your villa, so I could only bring you back to my place." Hearing this, Lu Yuzhou finally realized that in his anger just now, he hadn't noticed that this finely decorated pink princess room wasn't his room. His face improved a little, but the vigilance in his eyes toward her did not diminish at all. "Then how did you end up sleeping with me?" As soon as the words fell, a flush appeared on his face. "I was planning to settle you down and go to the second room, but you dragged me and wouldn't let go." The shy look on that woman's face made his eyes flicker, and it was unclear how much of what she said he believed. And Zining only saw her suddenly rise and leave the room, glancing at him blankly before she did. "And Genie means, put away your little schemes. I will marry you, but only because you listen to me and are easy to manage for my parents. If there is a next time, I don't mind changing to another person." And Genie's face darkened, watching his back disappear. She nearly bit through a silver tooth in hooching Song Jiajun, and Song Qingyu looked at the desolate incoming call on their phones and felt that Lu Yuzhou was like an inescapable dog that kept pestering them. Some time ago he had blocked him, and there was a quiet period recently. For some reason, he had blocked a number and Lu Yuzhou had switched to another number to call again, hanging up once more. After blocking this number as well, the incessant ringing finally ceased. He breathed softly, turned off the phone, and set it face down on the desk. Only then did he have time to seriously read the document before him. This project was his first major project since he joined Shengqi. If he could clinch it perfectly, he would have firmly established himself among Shengqi's upper management. He had no hesitation in taking on the project, but only after taking it on did he realize that among the bidders there unexpectedly appeared Lu Yuzhou. He wasn't afraid of facing Lu Yuzhou head-on, he just didn't understand what Lu Yuzhou's move was all about. The Lu family's stronghold is in Haicheng. Could his intervention to guard the project be for him? Thinking of this, Song Qingyu could not help but snort. Would Lu Yuzhou think this was a deep feeling? He is planning a wedding with one woman while entangling with another, straddling two boats with such justification, and still dares to tell her what to do, she and Anjini not being what she thought they were. But even if she truly didn't love Anjini, what then? In the end, Anjinan herself agreed to the marriage partner she chose. And even if he wasn't the eldest daughter of a wealthy family, he shouldn't have acted on his own to turn her from a legitimate girlfriend into a kept lover. This bidding is very competitive. Not only Shengqi and the Lu family's protection, but most top-tier noble families have joined in. Of course, there are also people like Lu Yuzhou who came from other cities. Because there were too many participants, the organizers directly held a banquet and invited all the groups taking part in the bidding. When Aunt Song delivered the invitation, she winked at him mysteriously. Song Qingyu looked at his meaningfully knowledgeable eyes, and he thought he had missed some information. Looking at him in confusion, "Aunt, is there something else?" Upon hearing this, Aunt Song tilted her head with a sigh. It seemed he truly forgot what had been agreed upon in the previous days, so she didn't tease him any longer. She patted his shoulder and said, "Oh, didn't we say a while ago to have you meet the son of my friend? He had been busy recently and hadn't found time. Won't he be attending this bidding as well? It would be perfect for you to go together." Hearing this was about a blind date, Song Qingyu was suddenly speechless and choked with emotion. On top of that, given the occasion of this meeting, he couldn't help but laugh and cry at the same time. "Auntie, if this time we're all here for bidding, wouldn't we end up as rivals? Let rivals meet on the bidding floor for a blind date. You really are the first." He followed his own line and gave a thumbs up in agreement. Auntie Song didn't seem to mind at all. "So what? The opponents on the field may not be the same off the field. Moreover, if you meet first with a beauty plan in mind, isn't that not bad? I've heard that although that guy has never been in a relationship, he has liked a girl before. I heard it just happened to be you this time." Song Qingyu was stunned by the words, suddenly recalling that since discovering he and that person had been close friends long ago, because they skipped the step of adding each other as friends, they had stopped chatting and naturally forgot about the idea of dating. Now, after Aunt Song reminded him, he finally remembered that person. The person he liked was the same type as him, and they had long since become friends. Could it be that this boy initially added him as a friend just because of that? Song Qingyu frowned, his favorable impression of him dropping a bit. It seemed now that he didn't truly dislike finding a girlfriend. Rather, it was because he could not forget the person in his heart all along. In this situation, would he be rushing to stand in as a substitute for someone else? He didn't bring this up with Aunt Song. After all, Auntie didn't know about it either, so she only smiled perfunctorily and accepted the invitation, and felt nothing about Aunt Song proposing a meeting. It was just that Song Qingyu hadn't expected that his silence should be considered a rejection, but in Aunt Song's eyes, it ended up being consent. On the day of the bidding, someone just let a car wait outside the Song family's villa. "Hello, Miss Song." A man in a crisp suit stepped out, helped him alight, and pulled open the front passenger door for him, but Song Qingyu stood in front of him and did not move a step. "I haven't asked for your name yet." He was stunned, lowered his gaze to hide the loneliness in his eyes, and after a moment of silence, he returned to using "My surname Ji Xingzi." Got the answer. Song Qingyu did not continue to argue with him. When he signaled for him to get in again, he obediently sat in the front passenger seat until the door closed. He didn't know if he was angry or for some other reason, and he remained silent, not speaking to him again. He watched the scenery outside the car window but involuntarily chewed over the three words Ji Xingzi. He didn't have a particularly strong impression of the name, only that it somehow felt familiar. He quietly turned his head to look at him, seeing that he was just focused on driving, wanting to say something but not knowing how to start, and after a moment of hesitation, he still said nothing. The car soon stopped in front of the banquet hall. Song Qingyu and Ji Xingzi got out of the car. He had planned to go straight in, walked a short distance ahead, but he still stood behind. He turned back, and what met his eyes was the look of competitive resolve on his face. "What's wrong?" he asked in some confusion, pursed his lips and his eyes fixed on him. Others and their partners all walked in hand. For some reason, Ji Xingzi's face showed no expression, but Song Qingyu inexplicably detected a hint of grievance in her face. He cleared his throat, somewhat helpless. and walked back, taking his hand and heading toward the banquet hall together. When they were near the door, he couldn't help but ask, "Did we know each other before?" Upon hearing Song Qingyu's question, Ji Xingze replied that not being disappointed was a lie. He really didn't remember anything at all. Just when he thought he wouldn't answer this question, he finally broke that lifeless silence. "We were high school classmates. Only I was always the one sitting in the corner. He wasn't the bad kid in the back who troubled teachers, nor the top student in the front who won the teacher's favor. He was aloof and withdrawn, the easiest to overlook in the class. Even his stepfather and stepmother were always busy with work and seldom had time for him." At that time, Ji Xingze immersed himself daily in his own world, and when classmates came to chat he reacted with indifference. Even though he didn't look ordinary, few people could remember him. Just like Song Qingyu by his side now, he had liked him for a long time, from the moment the first time he approached him. Unlike the others who only gave him perfunctory greetings and then had no further contact, he at that time wouldn't skip over him because of his silence. No matter what the problem or what happened, he would seriously ask for everyone's opinions, including his. Song Qingyu became the person who appeared in his life the most, and the only light in his life, but later he repeatedly hated his own cowardice and silence, so much that he only added him as a friend in the graduation yearbook and never talked to him, because he always felt that the ordinary him didn't deserve Song Qingyu. Later still, she studied abroad while undergoing psychotherapy, and the first time he inquired about her news, what he learned was that she had interacted with others. At that moment he thought, as long as she is happy, it would be fine even if he were a lifelong passerby in her life. She was on the verge of giving up when he learned that Song Qingyu had broken up with her boyfriend, so he returned. It wasn't until this moment, hearing Ji Xingze's explanation, that he finally found memories related to him in the corner of his mind, thinking back to that once silent classmate and looking at the now tall and straight Ji Xingze attending banquets and negotiating deals without any abnormality. She still couldn't quite believe it, and she couldn't help but sigh. Time really is the best cosmetic. After a few years apart you have grown so handsome. Hearing Song Qingyu's last words, he couldn't help his ears reddening. The banquet hall was bustling, many people had come to bid, and not long after the two of them entered the banquet hall, a man and a woman walked in as well. Song Qingyu only heard the noise and instinctively looked back toward the hall entrance, but didn't expect this glance to directly meet the newcomer's eyes. "Song Qingyu, and are you?" exclaimed in unison, drawing the attention of others in the banquet hall, and everyone's eyes turned toward the entrance. Forced to accept the attention, Song Qingyu frowned. The Lu family and the An family are among the most powerful in Haicheng. How could Lu Yuzhong and An Zining just be there to guard the city and attend a banquet with such fanfare? Lacking any sense of aristocratic restraint, afraid of being connected to them, he ignored the two behind him and turned back, holding Ji Xingze's hand with his other hand, and strode quickly toward the banquet hall. Inside, Lu Yuzhou, behind him, was first surprised at why Song Qingyu would appear here, and then saw her tie her arm with the man beside her and leave straight away. For a moment his anger overwhelmed him so that even An Zining, who was beside him, hurried after. "Are you? Who is he? How could you be with him?" By the time An Zining hurried to catch up, he heard Lu Yuzhou, who had arrived before him, seize Song Qingyu's wrist and question him this way. An Zining stayed silent, his gaze traveling back and forth between the two people walking hand in hand, his face full of sarcasm. What's going on? Could only be that after breaking up with you he found someone else. Otherwise, with his status, how could he possibly enter a competitive banquet hall? His words were unusually confident, completely unaware of Lu Yuzhou's already darkened face and the strange expressions on the people around him when they looked at him. The Song family is the wealthiest in Huqing, and Song Qingyu, as the sole daughter of the richest man, still needs to cling to others to enter the banquet hall. Where could these two people coming from be from? Idiots. If even the eldest daughter of the richest man has to cling to others to participate in the bidding, who else among the others is qualified? But since there was something lively to watch, no one reminded them. Song Qingyu's brows just furrowed among the crowd, and Ji Xingze beside him had already gritted his teeth in cold anger, reaching out to grab Lu Yuzhou's wrist. In the next moment, he felt a surge of power coming from the wrist. Perhaps because he hadn't expected Ji Xingze to act suddenly, he was momentarily off guard and nearly cried out in pain, seeing that she still wouldn't let go. Pulling Song Qingyu's hand, Ji Xingze's emotionless voice followed. "Let go." The cold, stern voice made Lu Yujo break out in a cold sweat. He looked up at the man in front of him, and his expression grew even uglier. Seeing his current awkwardness, and Zining couldn't help but feel a bit pity, and immediately pointed at Ji Xingza's nose and cursed, "Do you know who we are? Dare to treat us like this? Believe it or not, I'll make you suffer 100 times over." Although Lu Yujo didn't speak, the murderous gleam that swept across his eyes, plus the fact that he had never tried to stop An Zining's nonsense from beginning to end, made it clear that his thoughts at this moment were the same as An Zining's. Song Qingyu sneered, first patting Ji Xingza's hand to make him loosen his grip. Although Ji Xingza was somewhat unwilling, seeing that he nodded toward him, he reluctantly released his hold. Seeing their reaction, Lu Yujo's face finally looked a bit better, and even An Zining thought they were frightened, so he softened his stance. He assumed a deeply affectionate posture and was about to speak when, in the next moment, Song Qingyu removed the brooch he wore and stabbed straight toward him. Lu Yujo remained calm and steady, not daring to act for Real. After all, he loved him so much and wouldn't bear to hurt her. It was surely just a show to scare him. "Are you?" "I know, Sai Ku." He hadn't even spoken yet when the brooch suddenly stabbed into his hand. The sudden sting caused his hand to lose its strength and he released the hand that held him. Song Qingyu stepped back, avoided An Zining, who was about to strike once he saw him harm someone, and then with a loud slap smacked him in the face. An Zining's fair face immediately showed a bright red palm print. She was incredulous. Never imagined Song Qingyu would dare to move. "Song Qingyu, your furious, hysterical demeanor was unlike him." Song Qingyu's expression was calm, as if what just happened wasn't a slap to An Zining but a greeting to them. He handed Swazon a tissue, then slowly picked up another and wiped his wrist, looking down at him with a condescending gaze laced with a touch of mockery. "Are you two very important people?" His lips curled into a sneer. Lu Yujo's eyes reddened for a moment, but all the anger gradually cooled in his next words. "Two idiots who came to bid but don't even know who their opponent is." The bidding opponents Lu Yujo and An Zining recalled the information they had obtained and, after a careful look at the person in front of them, finally connected Ji Xingza, who had several stars, and the information about the second son of those families guarding the city, to the Song family, who was second only to the wealthiest. The Lu family and the An family were among the top in Haicheng, but in front of the Song family and the Ji family, they still didn't amount to much. At this moment, Ji Xingza, who had remained silent since he first said to let it go, finally spoke again. Rather than asking, "Do you know who we are?" it would be better to ask the person next to you first. "Who are we?" The two words "we" instantly left Lu Yujo and An Zining stunned in place, so his meaning was that not only him, but Song Qingyu was also here to bid. Other bidders obviously could not match Song Qingyu. The only remaining possibility was the daughter of the city's guardian wealth, Miss Song. Realizing this, Lu Yujo and An Zining both suddenly turned pale. When they looked back, the surrounding crowd wore faces as if they were waiting to watch a good show. At this moment, they finally understood they were the ones being watched. Lu Yujo's face fluctuated between green and red, too distracted by the embarrassing situation of coming to bid that he ignored, and he hurriedly left the banquet hall. Seeing him leave, An Zining shot Song Qingyu a resentful glance and rushed to leave in pursuit. Song Qingyu noticed his envious gaze, but did not take it to heart. After all, An Zining wasn't a stranger to harboring enmity toward him, and An Zining's support was nothing more than the An family along with the illusory betrothal. With Lu Yujo could agree to marry An Jinyan while still loving him, and when An Jinyan could no longer bring him any benefits, he would naturally give up on An Jinyan to choose someone else. As for the An family, there was no need for Song Qingyu to intervene at all. As long as the An family knew that the person An Jinyan offended was the Song family, the first to give him up would be the An family. But at this moment, for Song Qingyu, the most important thing is this auction. Just as the farce here was coming to an end, the organizers finally appeared. He gave a faint glance to the two people who had long since boarded the car and fled in panic, did not say anything, and silently drew a cross through them in his heart. The bidding was extremely intense, but Song Qingyu still managed to bring the project under his belt in the end. On the way back, it was still Sai Xingzi driving him home, the car continuing to move forward. This time, the first to break the silence was Chen Zhao. "Do you still like him?" he asked abruptly. Song Qingyu was stunned for a long moment before he finally realized who he was talking about. He suddenly looked speechless. "Where did you get that conclusion from? I thought you agreed to the matchmaking because you knew he would come." So you dragged me to provoke him after all. His attitude when we first met was hardly friendly, and though his attitude toward Lu Yujo later wasn't friendly either, he still couldn't help but wonder since he doesn't remember that. There was a bit of resistance from him when they first met. Why would he agree to the matchmaking? Aunt mentioned it, so I came to take a look, but I don't have a habit of chasing after one person while not minding another, and my requirement for a partner is loyalty, so I will hold the same standard for myself as well. Perhaps it was the events at the banquet that drew the two closer together, and Song Qingyun was unusually patient in answering his questions at this moment. The two of them chatted intermittently as the car quickly pulled up to the gate of the Song family villa. He waved goodbye to him, then turned and headed into the villa. When he reached the door, his steps suddenly paused again, and he turned to see his own car still parked in place. With no sign of starting up, he walked back beside him, and the car window lowered in time, revealing his chiseled face that carried no sense of distance. He blinked, relief and confusion in his eyes as he looked at him. "Miss Song, is there something else you need? We're all classmates, no need for such courtesy. In the future you can just call me Qingyu." Sensing the stiffness in his address, Song Qingyu smiled. "But I agreed to the arranged marriage only because Aunt does not truly intend to start a new relationship, so for now we should just remain as friends." After speaking, he waved at him again, genuinely greeting him like an ordinary friend and wishing him safe travels back. As his figure gradually disappeared beyond the villa gate, a faint smile appeared on his face. Ji Xingze had waited for so many years that he naturally didn't mind waiting a little longer. As he said, for now they would be friends, and moreover, from a stranger to a circle of friends was already satisfying for him. That night, unlike the two insomniacs in Haicheng, Song Qingyu and Ji Xingze slept very well until the next morning. She was awakened by non-stop ringing on her phone. Half asleep, she opened her eyes to find that her social accounts had been bombarded to the breaking point, dinging and donging with malicious insults. As soon as she glanced at them at that moment, a Haicheng phone number called, and when he picked up, he learned that it was a friend from Haicheng from those years. "Qingyu, did you see those online remarks? Those netizens are really sheep following the flock, believe whatever others say. Even rumors that you, the daughter of a top tycoon, are someone else's mistress. You must clarify quickly. Let those who slander you face the deserved punishment." Zhong Yunin's breathless tirade spilled out in rapid fire, her righteous anger vividly on display. After listening to his explanation, Song Qingyu finally understood the full story. It turned out that after Jining returned to Haicheng yesterday, he still couldn't bear the humiliation of the banquet, and relying on the engagement between him and Lu Yujo, he created a black and white tale claiming that Song Qingyu had interfered in his relationship with Lu Yujo. He even released evidence that Lu Yujo and Song Qingyu had been living together since their engagement. The netizens initially didn't believe that the dignified daughter of the richest family would intrude into someone else's marriage. They released the evidence, and even Lu Yujo's brothers testified that Song Qingyu had interfered. This time, netizens who were up late and craving gossip believed it to be true, and they directly found Song Qingyu's account, launching a frenzy of bombardment. "You live in such wealth, hasn't anyone taught you a moral? Bottom line, you're the daughter of a tycoon. How shameless morals have decayed. Boycott Song Qingyu, condemn Shengqi's slander." There were also some rational netizens who said to wait for Song Qingyu's response, at least not to believe one side's words alone, but most of the comments beneath these were just more insults. "I'll handle it. Don't forget I'm the daughter of the richest man, and Shengqi's legal department isn't to be trifled with. If he dares to spread rumors, he's surely prepared to face the consequences." Hearing him speak with such confidence, Zhong Yuning heaved a sigh of relief, comforting him a few more words before hanging up the phone. After hanging up the phone, he reopened the webpage to see how far things had fermented. When he read those malicious slanders, it would be a lie to say he felt no anger. He was puzzled though. In the past they looked down on him because they thought his family was poor and unfit for Lu Yujo. Now that the first rich heiress of his family is known even by netizens, where did they get such audacity? Conspire with Zining and come to smear her. He kept a cold face and saved screenshots of those online posts. At that moment, his phone rang again from an unfamiliar number. She hesitated for a moment and answered the call. "Qingyu, are you okay now? Don't pay attention to those online words. I know you didn't do those things and don't get angry about it. I believe that my parents are already handling this. If you need any help, come to me, from the tenderness and urgency in Ji Xing's voice. Song Qingyu felt as if the jade that pressed against his chest had been swept away. He gave a light laugh before saying, "It's okay, I'm not that fragile, it's just a rumor. I can deal with it myself." Seeing him in good spirits, Ji Xingze finally relaxed his tense heart. He didn't want to hang up, but he didn't know what else to say at the moment, and the room suddenly grew quiet in the long silence. Through the phone screen, Song Qingyu seemed to hear his light breaths. In the end, he broke the calm himself. "Ji Xingze, thank you, although I won't be moved by those groundless rumors. Thank you for your concern." He added the last sentence to his thoughts and hung up quickly. Meanwhile, Ji Xingze held the phone that had already ended the call. Time seemed to pass so quickly. If only it could stay at that moment. They stayed like that, on opposite ends of the line, in a silent environment. Listening to his shallow breathing was enough. When Song Fu and Song Mu first heard about Song Qingyu being bullied online, they were so furious that they started cursing non-stop, nearly rushing out to confront Lu Yuzhou and Zining and their group of troublemakers. "That scumbag and cheap girl, how dare they smear my daughter, they've got some nerve." Song Mu rolled her eyes at Song Fu's outburst, thinking he was being too naive. What fearless young fools, they're just beasts. Song Qingyu finally managed to calm her parents down, and seeing their protective rage, she couldn't help but laugh through her tears. "Okay, Mom and Dad, don't worry, your daughter won't let herself be bullied for no reason. If they dare to spread rumors, they'll have to pay the price." At the in-family residence in Haicheng, Lu Yuzhou's face was dark with malice as he looked down at Zining, who was sobbing and throwing herself at his feet. His eyes held nothing but disgust. "Didn't I tell you to drop those petty schemes? I was going to keep you around since you still had some use, but you've got a lot of nerve, contacting Wang Tianyun behind my back to smear you. I must have been too lenient with you." He grabbed Zining's chin, forcing him to lift his head, and Zining shook his head frantically, but no trace of mercy remained in Lu Yuzhou's eyes. "Song Qingyu, that she's clearly the daughter of a tycoon. Yet she lied to you for 5 years about being poor. Now we've offended her. Do you still think she has feelings for you? Instead of waiting for her revenge later, why don't we team up to crush the Song family completely?" At these words, Lu Yuzhou's grip loosened slightly. "Right, Song Qingyu is a tycoon's daughter, but she hid it from me for 5 years. If I'd known earlier, I wouldn't have needed to enter that marriage alliance. I didn't care about her fake poor identity and even kept her by my side. But what did she do? She dumped me completely and made me look like a fool. So why should I let her stay on her high horse, let her fall into ruin, and when she's desperate she'll have to come crawling back to me? After all, when she left, she threw away or burned everything related to us. If we just stick to our story, won't she be stuck with the label of a homewrecker?" Lu Yuzhou let go of Zining's chin, and a flicker of approval finally appeared in his eyes. "Then you'd better work hard to drag her down from her tycoon pedestal." With that, he turned and left Zining's villa without another word. As the sound of the car engine faded into the distance, the resentment in Zining's eyes grew deeper. His actions weren't impulsive. Ever since he returned from Huqing, having messed up the bid and offended the tycoon's daughter, the Yin family had abandoned him. He'd hoped to secure his place in the Yin family through marriage to Lu Yuzhou, but when he'd mentioned it to Mr. and Mrs. and he'd been slapped hard. "You still dare to talk about marrying Lu Yuzhou? He came over today to break off the engagement. You can't even keep a man. What use are you?" It was only then that Zining realized he'd been cast aside by everyone. "But why, Song Qingyu? Because of you, I was abandoned by the Yin family and, Lu Yuzhou, what gives you the right to look down on me like that?" He vented all his resentment on Song Qingyu, dragging Wang Tianyun and Lu Yuzhou along in a final desperate gamble. They were convinced that Song Qingyu had erased all traces of his past with Lu Yuzhou, even anticipating that even if he produced evidence of their 5-year relationship, Song Qingyu could fabricate an even older record, until Song Qingyu directly released 2 surveillance videos along with chat logs from Wen and Jining. Provoked him. The first video showed them speaking French in front of Song Qingyu a month prior. Although the audio was somewhat distorted, the core meaning of the conversation was clear. Lu Yuzhou had secretly gotten engaged to someone else and was trying to keep her as a mistress under the guise of love. The other video recorded a confrontation between Jining and Song Qingyu outside the restroom, and Jining's voice was also clearly audible. He claimed that he had dated Lu Yuzhou for 5 years. First, and if anyone was the intruder, it should be Jining. He repeatedly displayed only feeble anger, never truly arguing back. If Song Qingyu were truly the intruder, and Jining, with her temperament, would have argued back then. Moreover, and Jining later acted arrogantly in front of Lu Yuzhou's official girlfriend, a demeanor unlike that of an intruder, more akin to the logic of someone starved for love, viewing a mistress as a third party. In reality, he knew he was the intruder and only he would utter such words. Public opinion instantly reversed. Those who had previously hurled insults at Song Qingyu now directed their anger at Lu Yuzhou and Jining. When those self-proclaimed guardians of justice flooded Lu Yuzhou and Jining's Weibo accounts, leaving a screen full of angry curses, Song Qingyu directly filed lawsuits against the account with the most likes and comments mocking him, as well as those who incited and defamed him. Furthermore, Jining, Lu Yuzhou and all their accomplices were also implicated and sued. Afterward, Song Qingyu ceased personally following up on the matter. He wrapped up subsequent matters. He entrusted Cheng Qi's legal team to handle them full-time. Once again, when he stepped onto social media comment sections, things were much calmer, and a few arrogant fools were quickly silenced. After the mute period ended and someone was about to speak out rudely again, they found another court summons in their backstage. This finally made them completely behave, and in response to those kind-hearted supportive comments, Song Qingyu even posted a special Weibo. The nets are wide, but they do not miss. The truly guilty are afraid of rumors, while I will only wield the law to defend my legitimate rights. And Jining was completely abandoned. Song Qingyu didn't pay much attention to the subsequent matters. He believed that with the capability of the Holy Flag Ministry of Justice they would surely pay the price they deserved. It was just that when he heard that Jining had been sued in court, when no one even offered him a defense attorney, that he felt somewhat sighing. In fact, if Jining hadn't come to die at Song Qingyu's doorstep, he could have kept a surface-level peace with Lu Yuzhou, acting as the most ordinary of noble family marriage partners. But he was never content. While Song Qingyu was still by Lu Yuzhou's side, he wanted to drive Song Qingyu away. After Song Qingyu left, all the grievances he had suffered were blamed on Song Qingyu, intending to trample Song Qingyu under his foot, only to end up in this outcome, including Lu Yuzhou and those brothers led by Wang Tianyun, who always worshipped the strong and looked down on the weak, believing birth determined everything. Later realizing there was no possibility of reconciliation with them, he walked the path of colluding with Jining in a miserable state, and in the end they were sued together. Why go through all that? Focusing on the center of this matter, the most important person, Lu Yuzhou, had never made any related remarks, had only chosen to stay silent, and ended up exposing himself. The matter came to a temporary close that day. A representative from the legal department came to see Song Qingyu briefly and reported the results to him. Because the circumstances were serious, the people in court still clamored that they were not at fault, showing a very poor attitude toward admitting their guilt. Coupled with Song Qingyu's refusal to make peace, they were ultimately sentenced to 2 years in prison. Later, netizens said that it was extraordinarily rare to see a group of privileged young men crying out about being imprisoned, and they doubted they would ever witness such a scene again in their lifetimes. After learning of their final punishment, Song Qingyu did not pay attention to the follow-up. What he did not expect was that Lu Yuzhou would come calling again. At that moment, he was discussing with Ji Xingze where to go for a meal after work, when the front desk's internal line rang. A Mr. Song, who shares the surname Song, said he wanted to see you. When he heard this, Song Qingyu was stunned for a moment and looked beside him. It only took a month to suppress the Lu group, significantly less than before. Ju Xingze pondered for a moment and still agreed. He was also very curious. In this situation where both sides had torn their faces apart, what was the point of him coming to see himself? He had thought that Lu Yuzhou must be having a hard time now, but when he truly met him, he paused for a moment. But after a few months apart, Song Qingyu almost failed to recognize the man in front of the desk, gaunt and skeletal, with a face full of despair, looking at least 10 years older than before, who was the once spirited Lu Yuzhou not long ago. But he was only surprised for a moment, quickly returning to the aloof, distant demeanor that kept others at arm's length. And Lu Yuzhou, seeing the old self-assured Ji Xingze sitting beside him, seemed not to expect him to be here, his breath faltering for a moment. But he knew that in front of Song Qingyu he no longer had any say, his face full of sorrow, pleading for the last shred of mercy from him. I know I let you down in the past, but I never lied to you either. I have always loved only you from the beginning to the end. Look at the feelings we had in the past. Letting go of the Liu family, he lowered his posture and showed no trace of his former swagger. When they were dating, he tried to suppress it, yet always revealed a sense of haughtiness in every way. But now he spread his hands, shook his head and pointed to Ji Xingzi beside him. The people who were supposed to crush the Liu family are not me, why don't you beg him? Song Qingyu smiled, still her face lit with a smile, but the smile did not reach her eyes. Moreover, Lu Yuzhou, hadn't our past feelings already been exhausted by you? When she hid her engagement from him and decided to keep him as a lover by her side when he mocked and belittled him with his brothers in French, never thinking to stop him when Enjining and his brothers spread rumors about him, and he quietly played the invisible man, and now he comes again to speak of their past feelings. Then why didn't he remember that they once had feelings? With these words, Lu Yuzhou's face immediately turned pale. At this moment, he only felt a bitter taste in his throat, making swallowing even difficult. I was wrong, I apologize to you. If this goes on like this, the Liu family really won't be able to bear it. And he shrugs nonchalantly again. What does the Liu family bearing it have to do with me? Lu Yuzhou and the others have all paid the price for what they did. On what basis do you think a light apology can pull you out of it? But I never did those things to you. He looked anxious, trying to defend himself, but the moment his words fell, even that feigned smile of his was stingily maintained. You didn't do it, you were merely a cold observer. Lu Yuzhou, it's people like you who are the most detestable bystanders. He looked at the man before him and the contempt in his eyes was not concealed at all. Lu Yuzhou, it's because of your bystander attitude that your brother treated me so cruelly with words. It's because of your bystander attitude that Enjining was given repeated chances to hurt me. Now you say you didn't do it. Fine, you say you didn't do it, and I'll say I never suppressed the Liu family. I can't help with the Liu family's affairs. After he finished speaking, he raised his voice. Linda, see them out. Linda pushed the office door open with a formal smile on her face. Please, President Liu. He still wanted to say something, but Song Qingyu had already pulled Ji Xingzi, bypassed him, and was walking toward the outside. Anyway, he is the president, no one will pay attention to him for a while, and as for the person in the office with Linda watching, sending him out wouldn't be a problem. So what should we eat? Western food or home-cooked dishes? It's been a while since I ate. I'm craving home-cooked dishes a bit. Then home-cooked it is. I'll do whatever you say. Ji Xingzi's eyes softened, completely different from the quiet and reticent demeanor he had when they first met. He glanced back at him and raised an eyebrow. Why is it that you listen to me about everything? His steps suddenly paused, and when he looked at him, the incredibly solemn eyes made his heartbeat miss a beat. He was about to change the subject and keep walking, but his voice followed from behind. Because of I like you. His confession seemed a bit sudden yet somewhat within his expectations. His steps halted, and when he turned to look at him, he could not help sighing. But I know you said you're not ready to accept a new relationship yet, so when you're ready to accept it, can I be the first? His eyes were as radiant as a starry river, gazing at the gleam in his eyes, and the words of rejection could no longer be spoken. He smiled slightly. Since you asked so sincerely, I'll reluctantly agree. He also recalled with a smile, ignoring the awkwardness of his drawing and, following his own heart, pulled her into his arms. Ji Xingzi waited through several lonely winters and summers, and he believed that in the next winter and summer the lonely person would no longer be him. The end.